Okay, picture this. A shadowy, really efficient killing machine, operating for years, almost in plain sight, responsible for hundreds, maybe even thousands of murders across America.
Right.
A group most people have maybe heard whispered about, Murder Inc., but, few really understand.
Exactly.
And this wasn't just some street gang. It operated with this almost corporate precision, making death a business, a chillingly efficient one.
It's quite something.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the infamous Murder Inc., basically the brutal enforcement arm for the National Crime Syndicate.
A muscle.
Yeah, the muscle. Our mission here is to cut through the myths, really understand how this deadly syndicate came about, who the ruthless figures running it were, their, chilling methods, and the dramatic unraveling that finally brought it down.
And look, this isn't just about sensational crime stories, although believe me, there are plenty of those.
Oh, I bet.
We're drawing from, a whole stack of historical accounts, compelling documentaries, things like that. And what this deep dive offers is a critical look at how organized crime fundamentally transformed.
How it innovated.
Yeah, innovated its structure, how it adapted, and ultimately how it faced its own weaknesses. Why should you care? Well, because this story gives unique insights into the mob's evolution. From disorganized street fighters to this sophisticated, almost business-like entity. And it shows the unintended consequences of big societal shifts like prohibition. It's a really pivotal, dark chapter in American history. It reshaped the whole underworld.
Okay, so to really get what Murder Inc. became, we need to look at where it came from. The ground it grew out of.
Ah.
And that's the era of prohibition, starting back in 1920, the 18th Amendment, the Volstead Act, basically banning alcohol nationwide.
Big moment.
Huge. And it wasn't just about morality, was it? It created this massive economic vacuum, a gold mine, really, for organized crime.
Absolutely. Suddenly, there's this huge demand for illegal booze.
And the profits were just staggering.
Economical.
And this wasn't just about smuggling rum. It actually forced different ethnic gangs, Jewish, Italian, to start working together, to put aside old rivalries.
Survival, yeah. And profit. Huge profit.
It was a major catalyst for forming this unified national syndicate idea.
It is fascinating, though, that while this booze money brought some gangs together, it also kind of poured gasoline on existing fires within the Mafia itself.
Right.
But the late 1920s, you see the eruption of the Castellammares War in New York, which was basically this incredibly bloody power struggle between the old world bosses. You had Joe the Boss, Masseria on one side,
Okay.
and Salvatore Maranzano on the other, vying for control of the city's crime families.
And this wasn't quiet stuff.
No, not at all. Super public, super violent. New York streets became a literal battleground for 2 years. And for the younger, more pragmatic guys like Lucky Luciano, all this bloodshed was just bad for business.
Bad for business. Too much heat, right.
Exactly. Disrupting their money-making operation.
Yeah. Bad for business is right. And that realization, that's exactly what fuels the rise of Lucky Luciano, a real visionary in his own particular way.
A dark visionary.
He saw these old world feuds were just destroying potential profits and bringing down way too much police attention. So Luciano makes this meticulous plan. He's going to end the cycle. How? By taking out both Masseria and Maranzano.
Ruthless efficiency.
Totally. First move, Masseria, April 15th, 1931. Famous story, right? Luciano excuses himself to the restroom during dinner at a Coney Island restaurant.
The signal.
That's the signal. Hitmen rush in Albert Anastasia is supposedly one of them and gun down Masseria right there. Then, just a few months later, September 1931, Maranzano gets his in his Manhattan office. This time, it's Jewish hitmen, led by a guy named Red Levine.
And with those two, the old guard, out of the way,
Yeah.
that clears the path for Luciano's truly revolutionary idea, a national board of directors for the Mafia.
The commission.
The commission. Formed in 1931. This was a total game changer. It shifts power away from just one autocratic boss.
Right, the old way.
To a more structured, almost, you could say, democratic board. The goal: prevent future wars, streamline the business, divide up territories, settle disputes with a vote. It brought together the top dogs from both Italian and Jewish outfits.
Okay, so this commission sounds powerful, very structured, but it raises a big question, doesn't it? How do you enforce the rules of this new big business without the bosses themselves getting blood on their hands, without attracting that same kind of attention that wrecked the old system?
They needed distance, plausible deniability.
Exactly. They needed a new kind of weapon, an enforcement arm.
And that weapon was about to be forged. A ruthless, insulated group that the press would later call
Murder Incorporated.
Ardor Inc.
Yeah.
It emerges in the early 1930s, an exclusive multi-ethnic hit squad for both the Italian Mafia and the Jewish mob. Though, the name Murder Inc., that was the media.
Okay, what did they call themselves?
In the underworld, they were just known as the Combination. Simpler. Their job was clear, carry out the commission's orders with precision, and leave no trail back to the top guys.
And running this lethal operation, you had two key figures. Very different styles, but both absolutely deadly.
Right.
First, Louis Lupke Buchholter, often called the mastermind, the architect.
The brains.
The brains, yeah. Lepke built these huge labor racketeering empires, controlling unions, businesses through muscle and extortion, garment industry, trucking, bakeries.
He ran it like a business. Quiet efficiency.
Exactly. Cold logic. And then you had Albert Anastasia, famously nicknamed the Mad Hatter, and later the Lord High Executioner.
Now he was different.
Very different. Anastasia's rise was all about ruthless control of the Brooklyn waterfront, the dockworker unions. He got power through sheer terror and explosive violence. His first known murder, Joe Torino, back in 1920, with a knife. Witnesses said his eyes were just cold and devoid of emotion. Showed his nature early on.
And what's really wild is how ordinary the front for this whole deadly setup was. It was a candy store.
A candy store? Seriously?
Yeah, the Midnight Roses candy store in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Run by a woman, Rosie Gold. Seemed totally innocent, open 24/7. But that was the hub.
Wow.
Hitmen would hang out there, play cards, drink coffee, just waiting for the phone to ring with the next contract. It's that mix of the totally mundane and the absolutely sinister.
That's incredible. A candy storefront. And the killers themselves, these members of the squad.
Mostly recruited from the tough working class neighborhoods in Brooklyn. Jewish guys, Italian guys, Brownsville, Ocean Hill.
The Brownsville boys.
That's them. And their Italian counterparts. Young street thugs, basically, who were shaped, trained into efficient, cold-blooded killers. Guys like Abe Kid Twist Reelers. Small guy, but psychopathic. Martin Bugsy Goldstein. A whole terrifying roster.
Their reputation alone must have been terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. And what's really striking is how systematic it all became. Murder turned into a business model.
How so?
Well, the killers got a regular salary, like a retainer, plus extra fees for each hit, anywhere from, say, $1,000 to $5,000.
Per hit.
Per hit. And get this.
Yeah.
Their families even got benefits if the killer was jailed or, killed on the job.
Seriously, like insurance.
Sort of, yeah. It bought fierce loyalty. And, of course, there was the strict code of silence, omerta, paramount. Made them incredibly hard to penetrate. It was like a dark reflection of legitimate business practices.
That level of organization is chilling. Going back to Anastasia for a second, what about his personal history? Did that shape how ruthless they became?
Oh, definitely. He had this very early brush with the electric chair at Sing Sing.
Yeah.
For that Torino murder we mentioned.
Right.
He was actually sentenced to death. But Lucky Luciano stepped in, got key witnesses, persuaded, let's say, to change their stories or disappear.
Eliminated them.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
Luciano saved him, and Anastasia learned a crucial lesson from that.
Which was?
Eliminating witnesses became a core strategy, something he used again and again, made him incredibly effective and utterly terrifying.
Okay, so if we connect that lesson to the bigger picture, it shows us brutal pragmatism that defined Murder Inc., right?
Exactly, and the perfect example of their early brutality comes from Abe Relis, Kid Twist. His early days, he had this beef with the Shapiro brothers, felt disrespected. So a gang war kicks off, and it ends with William Shapiro meeting this horrifying fate, allegedly beaten, then buried alive in a sand pit out in Canarsie, 1934.
Buried alive.
That's the story. A truly visceral, terrifying message designed to instill absolute fear. No messing around.
Okay, here's where things get really interesting, though. You see the syndicate's power being tested and how their actions could spin out of control. Fast forward to 1935, the Dutch Schultz hit.
Ah, yes. Classic story.
Schultz is under huge pressure from prosecutor Thomas Dewey. He actually goes to the commission, wants permission to kill Dewey. He's my nemesis. He's got to go, that kind of thing.
He was desperate.
Totally. And Anastasia gets tasked with scouting Dewey's place. Get this. He disguises himself as a doting mother with a borrowed baby carriage, uses a kid on a tricycle as cover, stakes out Dewey's apartment on Fifth Avenue.
Anastasia, the executioner, pushing a baby carriage.
You cannot make this stuff up. He reports back, yeah, the hit's easy, we can do it.
But the commission says no.
Flat out refuses. Luciano, Lansky, Lepke, Costello, they're like, no way, killing a prosecutor like Dewey, that brings way too much heat.
Bad for business again.
Exactly. But Schultz flips out, says he'll kill Dewey anyway.
Big mistake.
Huge. The commission sees him as a loose cannon now, a threat to their stability. So they order his assassination.
Turn the tables.
Lepke gives the job to Mendy Weiss and Charles the Bug Workman. October 1935, Palace Chop House in Newark, New Jersey. Schultz and his crew are gunned down.
Problem solved.
Not exactly. Here's the unintended consequence. Schultz is dead, but Dewey doesn't back off. He just redirects his focus straight onto Lucky Luciano.
Ouch.
Leads directly to Luciano's conviction on forced prostitution charges in 1936.
Yeah.
So the very hit meant to protect the syndicate helps take down its main architect. Irony, huh?
That really raises questions about the individuals involved, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The hitmen themselves weren't just faceless tools. They had reputations, signatures almost. Yeah. Abe Kid Twist Realist. Known for being small, totally psychopathic, and favoring an ice pick, sometimes right through the ear. They called him crazy as a bedbug.
Charming.
Then there was Harry Pittsburgh Phil Strauss, the Phantom Killer. Estimates range from 30 to 500 murders attributed to him.
500?
The high end, but yeah. Supposedly never carried his own weapon, just picked something up at the scene. And notoriously, after bodies kept floating up, he started tying victims to slot machines before dumping them in the East River.
Tied to slot machines. Good grief.
Yeah. Gruesome details like that weren't just about being brutal. It built the Murder, Inc. brand. That reputation for macabre methods instilled this pervasive fear.
So it's clear the threat they posed was just absolute. They weren't only hitting big targets, but systematically wiping out witnesses, anyone who could interfere.
Make sure business ran smoothly.
Yeah, their power, their reach, it really showed. If you crossed the syndicate, you were marked, and the end wouldn't be pretty.
But even the tightest ship can spring a leak. The downfall began, ironically enough, with the breaking of Omerta, that sacred code of silence.
Who broke it?
Abe Kid Twist, Reelers. In 1940, he was facing the electric chair himself for a 1936 murder. A candy store owner, Joseph Rosen, who apparently knew too much about Lepke's rackets.
The candy store again.
Yep. So Realist decides to save his own skin. He turns informant, becomes the canary who could sing but couldn't fly, as they said.
And he sang everything.
Oh, yeah. Exposed the whole inner workings, named names, gave details on countless unsolved murders, including ones he committed himself.
Wow. That must have sent shockwaves.
It was devastating for them. Realist's testimony wasn't just damaging, it unleashed a legal storm. A rapid series of trials, convictions, executions.
Who went down?
A lot of the core guys. Harry Happy Man, Frank the Dasher of Adando, Pittsburgh Phil Strauss, Bugsy Goldstein, Mendy Weiss, all convicted, all sent to the chair.
Electric chair.
Yes. And then the architect himself, Louis Lepke Buchalter. He went into hiding, tried to broker a deal, even turned himself into the FBI via the famous radio guy Walter Winchell.
Winchell?
Really? Yeah. But it didn't save him. Extradited back to New York, convicted for that Rosen murder based heavily on Rosal's testimony. Yeah. Executed March 1944.
The only big mob boss ever executed in the U.S. Right?
Person only, yeah. It was a brutalist.
Yeah.
Realist's betrayal really did dismantle the heart of the machine.
Which brings us to Realist himself. What happened to the star witness? This is a crucial point, isn't it?
It really is. November 12th, 1941. Realist is under 247 police protection at the Half Moon Hotel in Coney Island. Supposedly secure.
Right.
And he falls from his 6th floor window. Dead.
Falls, in quotes.
Big quotes. The official story was suicide attempt. They found some sheets tied together. But almost no one believed it.
Why not?
Well, there was reportedly a $100,000 bounty on his head. And somehow, all 5 police guards assigned to him claimed they'd just fallen asleep at the same time.
All 5 asleep.
Yeah.
That sounds suspicious.
Extremely. Murder seems way more likely. And his death was incredibly convenient for one person in particular.
Anastasia.
Albert Anastasia. The case against him for murdering Pete Panto, a union activist, just collapsed. Realist was the key witness. Without him, no case. Anastasia walked free. For a while, anyway.
So even with murdering collapsing, Anastasia survives, shielded by his connections and Reela's very timely demise.
Exactly. He even does a short stint in the army during the war, 1942 to 44, gets naturalized. But he wasn't done climbing.
No.
Not by a long shot. He quickly maneuvers to become boss of the Mangano crime family, orchestrates the disappearance of Vincent Mangano, finds Philip Mangano's body conveniently floating in a swamp, 1951, same old ruthless tactics.
Always moving up, but that kind of life catches up eventually, doesn't it?
He usually does. By 1957, Anastasia's facing tax evasion charges. He's becoming isolated. Other ambitious guys like Vito Genovese and Carlo Gambino are challenging him.
The sharks start circling?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And his end was classic mob. October 1957. He's relaxing in a barber chair at the Park Sheraton Hotel in Manhattan.
The barbershop hit. Iconic.
Masked gunmen rush in, blaze away. End of the Lord High Executioner. A brutal end for a brutal man.
So looking back at all of this, what's the lasting impact? What did the fall of Murder Inc. actually mean for organized crime?
It changed the game, definitely. It forced a major shift away from having this one centralized multi-ethnic hit squad out in the open.
Too risky.
Way too risky. Too much exposure, too many guys flipped, too many executions. Mob families had to get smarter, keep a lower profile. Hits became more private, handled internally, usually within their own family structure. They learned a hard lesson from Murder Inc.'s downfall.
So less corporate killing, more internal affairs.
You could put it that way. The business of murder continued, but the methods had to adapt, become less visible.
What's really fascinating here is how those lessons learned from Murder Inc.'s rise and spectacular fall still resonate today in how we understand organized crime.
Absolutely. It highlights that constant tension, between centralizing power and decentralizing risk. The incredible lure of huge profits versus the vulnerability that comes with it.
Especially when it's built on violence and fear.
Exactly. Even the most powerful structures built on that foundation are ultimately fragile. If you connect this to the bigger picture, it shows that even in society's darkest corners, things evolve. Power shifts. And accountability. Well, it might be delayed, but eventually it can catch up.
Okay, here's something to think about. We saw this sophisticated, almost corporate approach to murder, complete with retainers, even family benefits, ultimately implode. Internal betrayal, public scrutiny, it all came crashing down. So what does that tell you, listening right now, about the real cost of that kind of power? And how effectively can any operation built on such darkness ever truly stay hidden, truly operate in the shadows over the long haul?
A good question to ponder.
We've given you the nuggets, the key pieces of this incredible story. Now it's your turn. Go explore what stands out most to you.